Hello. Yeah, this is Richard McGregor here in Cairo, Egypt. I am going to talk to you for the next couple of minutes, look at some examples of public architecture in the Islamic tradition, and in particular, the idea of public endowments. So, in the pre-modern and medieval periods, how were institutions for the poor, but for the population generally, established and maintained. And one important institution is called the Waqf, and the Waqf is a permanent endowment of private money that is put permanently in the service of public institutions. And in the pre-modern period, this included typically things like hospitals, sometimes libraries, and a very popular choice was what was called the Sabil-Kuttab, which is the public watering buildings for people and animals, and also for training students, kids in basic literacy. And this is called Kuttab, and this was done through, of course, being Islamic, through learning of the Quran. So the Sabil-Kuttab was a very common public institution endowed in perpetuity with private money. And we're going to just get a sampling from the architecture in this medieval part of Cairo. So as we can see behind me, a sort of classic structure for the Sabil-Kuttab, which is these rounded facade. This is a later example from the late 18th century, but you can see this classic structure of the rounded facade with grills, and then on the bottom, right, these wider openings for putting your hand in, getting water, scooping water, right, and typically there would be wells behind these access points. Okay, we'll move on to another example. Here we're looking at an 18th century example, right, with the gratings for sort of public access to the wells. And then we're looking up above to the Kuttab. So down below, public watering holes, and up above is the school for children for memorizing the Quran as first sort of step, and for many their only step, but perhaps the first step in a wider training in Arabic literacy. So again, down below, the watering, the Sabil, and up above, the Kuttab, the school for learning the Quran. So this, an 18th century example, a nice prominent position for it. So just another example, the Sabil. This is 19th century. You see it's sort of a little more Baroque in style, right? More worked iron. But again, right, these basic features of this rounded facade with the gratings sort of indicating and facilitating access to public service of water distribution. And if you notice above the arches, right, are panels with script, right? So these are little public texts announcing the patron, right, the founder, the munificent benefactor, right, of this Waqf and this Sabil watering for the public good. And coming to an earlier example of the Sabil-Kuttab. This is 16th century, and you get pretty quickly the sense, right, of how different this is in style from the previous one. Here with this classic earlier medieval juxtaposition of the red and white colors, ablak, it's called in Arabic. Up above, so this is a 16th century example, the Sabil-Kuttab of Khosrow Pasha, 16th century. It's up above, the kids learning Quran, right? And down below the well and the public distribution of water. Just much later example. Notice the detail, again, the sort of Baroque styling that comes in. This is a much later Sabil from 1820. Just again, right, those same architectural features repeated here. This is from the Pasha of Egypt, right, is the patron, so this one is particularly fancy, striking, with the panels above the windows indicating, right, the founding patron. In this case, it's none other than Muhammad Ali himself, the Pasha of Egypt. So this is our last example of the Sabil-Kuttab. Again, right, you're starting to see the pattern. You can identify, right, the lower portion and the rounded facade, right, with the public access to water. And up above is the Kuttab, the school for children, the study of the Quran. Again, the Sabil-Kuttab Waqf tradition, the permanent endowments within Islamic law, endowments towards public institutions of public welfare.